Hey everyone, James here with Rokoko, back with another tutorial video. This time we actually have an Unreal tutorial and we're going to show you how to create a third-person character using your own character and animations, also using the third-person project that comes with it. So let's get started. Our first thing that we want to do when you start a new project, you want to make sure that you import the third-person project because we will be using that. If you don't have it imported into your project already, all you need to do is click on the Add New button and then click on Add Feature or Content Pack, and you'll see third person right here. You can just go ahead and add it to your project directly. We do already have it in here though, so we are good to go. So once you've got your project all set up, the very first thing that you need to do is add your character, and you want to do that before you import your animations, because when you import your animations it's going to ask for your character skeleton. So we do already have our character imported already into our project, so make sure that's the first thing that you do. But once your character is in, you'll go ahead and right click on your content browser and then click on New Folder. We'll create an animations folder for organization's sake, and we'll import our animations directly into here. Go ahead and hit open, and then once you import an animation, it's going to require that you select your skeleton. So since we do have our character already imported, we can just click on None, and then we'll click on the hacker skeleton. That's our character, and then we'll hit Import All so that the settings will apply for both of our animations. So let that load for a sec. And then you see that both of our animations are imported, and you can preview our animations. You double click on them, and this is our animation playing on our character, so it looks pretty good. You can also edit your keyframes, and this is what we are going to do for this animation because it does have a T-pose right in the beginning, and we don't want that. So let's go ahead and navigate to our 10th frame, and we'll just remove frames 0 to 11, and that will go ahead and remove our T-pose, and so that looks pretty good. And we'll just save that, and then we can navigate over to our walk animation. Same thing, it does have a T-pose, but what we want to do, this animation wasn't made to loop, so we can actually edit it so that it does loop. And we'll find our frame 130, which is about where we want to start, and then we'll do the same thing, right click, and then we'll remove frames 0 to 128, which should be pretty good. And then the same thing at the end, we'll find our frame 106, which is about right here, and then we'll right click and then we'll remove frames 106 to frame 353. And so now you have just the walking part of the animation, which is good, what we want. You do notice that the character is moving forward though, and we want to lock him in place. So in order to do that, you go over to root motion and you click on force root lock, and click on that box, and now he's staying right there, which is good. So we'll go ahead and save and exit out of here. And so once you've set up your animations, the next step that you want to do is to create a blend space. So in order to create a blend space, you want to right click on the content browser and then go to animation and then click on blend space. And again, it's going to ask you to pick the skeleton. We'll go ahead and click on the hacker skeleton, and then we'll name this Blendspace _ character. So since that's made, let's go ahead and double click on it to enter inside of it. And this is our blend space. We want to adjust some values over in our access settings first before we start importing our assets. So the first thing we want to do under horizontal axis, we want to change this name to direction. And then we'll also want to change the values for our minimum axis value. We'll change that to -180. And then we'll change our maximum axis value to 180. And then we also want to change our interpolation time, and we'll switch that to 1, and this will allow for a better transition between our idle and walk states. And then for your vertical axis, we'll just change this name to speed, and we'll keep everything else the same. And then once you've set that up, you can now drag and drop your animations right over here from in your asset browser directly into this graph. So we'll start with our idle animation first, and we'll drag that right at the middle right here. And then as you see, the character will start in his idles animation. And then the next thing we want to do is drag and drop our walk animation, and we'll drag it 2 spaces above our idle. And now in order to preview this, you want to drag the green dot, and this allows you to preview the transitions between both of these states. So as it's at the bottom, it's your idle state, but as you bring it to the top, it transitions to your walk state, and vice versa. And so it looks pretty good, just the transition between them two. So that's all we want to do with our blend space. So we'll go ahead and save that, and let's go ahead and exit. After we've created our blend space, the next thing that we want to do is create an animation blueprint that'll allow us, that will give us some functionality between our animations. So what you want to do now is right click in your content browser and then go to animation and then animation blueprint. Again, it's going to ask you for your skeleton. We'll click on the hacker skeleton and click on OK. And let's go ahead and name this ABP_character. So this is our animation blueprint, and this is what will allow us to give functionality to our animations. So the first thing that we want to do is create a state machine. So we'll right click in here, and then we'll type out new state machine, and you'll see it right here. Just click on that. And before we connect it, let's just go ahead and rename this to character states. And then we can go ahead and drag and connect these two. So let's double click on our character states, and we'll drag out from the execution pin of entry and then drop, and then we'll add a new state, and let's name this state movement. And we'll go ahead and double click again, and inside of movement we're gonna go ahead and drag and drop our blend space, which is located right here in the asset browser tab. So we'll click and drag this directly onto here, and we'll connect the blueprint to our final animation pose. And so once that's done, let's go ahead and navigate to our event graph tab, and this is where we're going to go ahead and build the functionality. So we'll start with our event blueprint update animation, and we'll drag out from the execution pin, and we're going to go ahead and search for our cast to third person character. So this will give us a connection to our third person character in the third person project. And the object of this, we're going to drag and drop out from this. It's going to be get player character. And then we're going to drag out 2 nodes from as third person character. The first one being get velocity, and the second one being get actor rotation. Click on that. And so next, we want to grab the return value of get velocity, and we're going to go ahead and search calculate direction. And then we'll do the same thing for our get actor rotation, and we'll actually not connect it there, but we'll connect it to our base rotation. And then we just want to make sure our target is set to self. And then we'll go ahead and drag out from the return value of calculate direction and drop, and we'll click on promote to variable. And we're going to rename this variable to have it say direction. And then we're going to go back to our get velocity, and we're going to drag out from the return value, and we're going to search for vector length. Go ahead and click on that, and then from here we're going to drag out and then promote this one to variable as well, and then we'll rename this to speed. And then what we want to do is make sure we connect our direction and our speed together, so we'll drag out from the execution pin of direction and then plug it into speed. And then we'll do the same thing for our casted third person character and our calculate direction. So So plug those two in, and there you go. So this is what you should have. And just for organization's sake, I'm going to go ahead and put these together. And then once you have this all connected and so that you can see, you want to make sure that you hit compile so that it works, and you'll see your character start animating here. And so once you've done that, let's go back to our movement state window, and then we're going to drag and drop our two variables that we created directly into here. So we'll start with direction, and we'll click get direction, and then we'll plug that in right here. And we'll do the same thing with speed. And then once that's done, go ahead and hit compile, and they should be connected now. And you can actually test this out within our anim preview editor. If you click on that tab, all you need to do is just adjust the speed. Let's say, so if we change this to 50, he should start walking, and if we change it back down to 0, he's in his idle state. And so it looks like it's working, which is great. So now we can go ahead and move on to the final step, which is creating a connection between our blueprint to the character. And so now we want to navigate back here, and we want to navigate back to our content folder. And within our content folder, you have the third person BP, and we want to go into blueprints and double click on the third person character. It'll open up the event graph, but what we want to go to is our viewport. And within the viewport, you'll see our the third person mannequin, and we want to make sure that this is our character that we're working on. So in order to change it, we want to click on our mannequin, highlight him, and then over here on your in your details tab under mesh, we want to change SK mannequin to our hacker, and there he is. Sometimes if you do that and you change your character, they might appear bigger in here, and if that's the case, all you need to do is just resize your character down. And to resize your character, just make sure that your character is highlighted, and you can either press the R key or you can press your scale tool, and you'll see the scale tool right down here, and you just want to adjust the scale so that he fits inside of the collider. So we are good there. And the last thing we want to do is just make sure that we change under animation, go to anim class, and select none, and we just want to select our blueprint that we created. So we'll click on ABP character, and you'll see he starts animating within this editor. And so we'll go ahead and click on compile, make sure that's good to go, and now we're ready to test. So we can go ahead and hit the play button, and as you see, our character is in his idle state, and then if we hit W, he'll start walking. And so that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and you learned a bit, just to help you get started with creating your own character controller using, your own animations in Unreal. We look forward to seeing the things that you guys can create. Thanks for watching.